Hey, it's Todd Newton. Welcome to the Tattooed Traveler. I'm excited for you to see this one. You know, I've been a professional wrestling fan since I was 12, 13 years old. I mean, going back to the 80s, Hulk Hogan, Honky Tonk Man, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, the Bushwhackers, Ultimate Warrior, Randy Macho Man Savage. I was in it. I was all there. And on this episode, I am joined by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Marty Urban. Marty Urban is one of the premier wrestling memorabilia collectors in the world, and he is joining me here at Foxwoods Casino, where we're doing the Price is Right live stage show, and he's going to hang out in the dressing room for a few minutes and show us some of his most prized pieces.
Dr. Marty. I came from Boston, actually near Boston, Massachusetts, but I actually live closer to Worcester, Massachusetts. Todd and I have been trying to coordinate him coming to see my collection for a while, so he couldn't make it.
This is such torture watching you just hold those.
Yeah,
you know?
so I should put them on, yeah. But anyways, these are a set of Macho Man's glasses that he autographed. This is very faint, but I'm gonna have you put those on, Todd.
Oh.
That's what Macho would look through.
And you can see. So did he wear these to the ring? Oh, he did.
You have to find the picture with the minute.
Wow, look at that! Can you see the signature on it? Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt, one of the most charismatic performers of the 1980s. And one of the greatest names, Macho Man. Born Randy Poffo in Columbus, Ohio, the Macho Man began his athletic career as a baseball player before becoming one of the most charismatic sports entertainers of all time. Known as much for his flamboyant outfits as he was for his epic battles with the likes of Hulk Hogan, Jake the Snake Roberts, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Savage had a reputation for planning his matches down to the second. So as a fan, you can imagine what a thrill it was to be able to wear one of his classic robes.
Pretty cool piece. Very heavy.
Can I see the back?
Yeah, please go right ahead. Yeah, you're gonna have to.
That is heavy.
Yeah,
wow.
Hose in it, but
is this the one he wore the crown with?
Yeah, I think he would have been Macho King with this one in '89, and also earlier in '86 he had this one made. So you'll see it's super heavy. Yeah, that's and again, you know,
he would do the whole
thing. Yeah.
Wow. And I wonder what these would have cost him.
So back then, probably a few thousand.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, they go for a lot of money now. Yeah, because they're just rare. So this is actually one of two made. Somebody reached out to me recently that there was another robe that he had signed to an executive. So sometimes you'll find duplicates of robes.
Right.
I mean, if you'll notice, if you actually do the history with it, he would have worn one of these in *86. Around, they did the Slammy Awards, so he wore that, and you see him posing in it with that.
Yeah.
And that could have been the one, and then he had another one in '89 with Zeus in that time frame. So 3-4 years later, sometimes they'll get a duplicate robe made.
These are really well made.
Really heavy, yeah.
And just think, these guys would have to cart all of that gear around from city to city, and there was no first class travel back then. It was 3 or 4 of them to a vehicle, and
correct.
I know Stone Cold Steve Austin told us one time that in the early days, these guys would get the cheapest hotel possible, and they'd go 3 or 4 guys to a room because whatever they were spending was coming right out of pocket.
Yeah, and Lenny and Macho would do the same thing. They would they rent the room and get all that stuff too.
And I'm super grateful to Dr. Marty for letting me wear Macho's robe and glasses on stage that night. I had to do it. Randy Macho Man Savage passed away in a car accident in 2011. He was only 58 years old. Well, now let's move on to this guy, the Ultimate Warrior, who burst onto the wrestling scene in 1987. His real name was James Hellwig until he legally changed it to Warrior in 1993. You see, the WWF at the time had trademarked his character and his ring name and was making most of the money from the image that came along with it. So Warrior wanted a piece of the action.
I know what this is. This is the Warrior.
This is Ultimate Warrior.
Whoa!
So you can put that on, Todd. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You gotta feel the intensity. But Warrior wore this. Some point we believe it was for a show in England because there's a little bit of England with this. So this is an Ultimate Warrior.
You're good.
Yeah.
Wow.
It looks good.
Oh, we were built the same.
Yeah.
The Warrior. Wow, man. Look at that. Now, do you have any idea where these guys got this stuff?
I know Macho's stuff was actually, I noticed from Lanny, because we talked about it in depth. I actually rehearsed it for the show in case I was asked, but Lanny got his, Macho got his stuff from Rubies of Queens in Jamaica Plain Avenue.
In New York.
Rubies of Queens.
Wearing that robe was such a thrill, just to think about all the fans around the world that the Warrior entertained for so long. He's another superstar that we lost far too early. Warrior passed away in 2014 from a heart attack at the age of 54. Well, we have saved the biggest for the last. The eighth wonder of the world, the 7'4", 520-pound Andre the Giant. Who can forget the iconic matchup between Hogan and Andre in WrestleMania 3? When the Hulkster body slammed the Giant right in the center of the ring, it was incredible. But life was pretty tough on Andre because of his size. Traveling was extremely difficult and uncomfortable. In 1986, he began wearing a back brace under his black singlet. And speaking of that singlet...
But this is stuff that was made for Andre, and I actually have Andre, and I should have bought this from, and I had his actual WrestleMania 2, the Royal, the first Battle Royal.
Okay.
But just you see the size of Andre. That was the tail end of his career, just a massive size of how big he was. Yeah, it was huge. Yeah. So,
Listen, I'm a 38, 40-inch waist here, and this is,
he's big. Yeah, he's big.
it's not too often I find a pair of pants or trunks that are too big. Yes, thank you. Look at that. Yeah, and he was wearing a singlet, I think, when the Hulkster body slammed it, was he not?
Yes,
a black
with the back brace.
Yeah.
The back brace, the whole thing about that. He wrestled a lot in pain. Wow. So that he would have worn something like this.
Andre the Giant was certainly a fan favorite right up until the day he died in 1993 at the age of 46. Now, before we go, we want to talk about this guy, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And of course, we want to thank Dr. Marty Urban for sharing his incredible collection with us. Hacksaw is known for carrying the flag and that 2x4 and yelling, "Ho, tough guy!" Many say he's one of the nicest guys in the business. Now, we don't have any Hacksaw Jim Duggan memorabilia, but Dr. Marty did have one last surprise for me.
We certainly love us some Hacksaw Jim Duggan, man.
Very cool, man. Well, thanks. Yeah, we're up in actually Hamilton, Ontario for a Comic-Con this weekend. So we just landed in Buffalo, and instead of flying into Toronto, it's easier to drive over. But thanks very much, and look forward to meeting you sometime. Brother.
Yeah, same here, man. They let you travel with that 2x4?
Oh, yeah. Actually, it's a foreign object. I can find one over there.
Oh, good. All right. All right, Jim. Best to you, my friend. Thank you.
And as always, thanks to you for watching. I appreciate you. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share with your fellow wrestling fans. We'll catch you a little further down the road. Until then, travel safely.